Elise taps a butter knife against her champagne glass while the waiter is still setting down our engagement cake. "I have an announcement," she says, "to New Beginnings, for Daniel and Mara, and for Mercer Voss Private Experiences." Everyone cheers except me. A man from Daniel's firm leans across the table. "Mara, my wife is thrilled about Saturday. Candlelight in the Bellwether Glass House? How did you pull that off?" His wife touches my wrist. "And thank you for handling the booking yourself." I look at Elise. She gives me a bright, steady smile. "You sold them a tour under my name?" Daniel laughs softly. "It's one tour of a locked property. Keep your voice down." His mother, Celeste, watches us over the rim of her glass. Daniel's smile tightens. "Stop overreacting. Family shares everything." I set my napkin beside my untouched plate. "Could you repeat that?" He does, slower, as if I'm the one failing to understand. Then I remember the brass after-hours key that should be zipped inside my work tote at home, and for the first time all evening, Elise looks away. The key is old enough that Bellwether's insurance company hates it. Long, heavy, and notched like something from a ghost story, it opens only the exterior door of the glass house. Every other entrance has been converted to electronic access, but the preservation board refuses to replace that lock because it was installed during the 1927 restoration. I'm allowed to carry the key when I have a scheduled evening event. I had one 2 nights ago. I remember dropping it into the small leather pouch in my tote when I got home. Daniel had been in the kitchen, making grilled cheese in his dress shirt because he had come home late and refused to change before eating. He'd kissed the top of my head and asked whether the tour went well. My tote had been hanging on the back of his chair. At the restaurant, Elise keeps talking. "Our whole thing is access," she says, circling one hand in the air as if she's unveiling a resort. "Not touristy tourism, curated experiences, the places you can't just walk into." "Because they're private," I say. There's a small pause. Celeste reaches for the champagne bottle. "Private doesn't mean forbidden, Mara. It means exclusive. To people who have permission." "Which you do," Elise says. "I have permission to enter for my job. And now we're combining strengths. I'm sales and vision, your local expertise and relationships." "What's Daniel?" Daniel picks up his drink. "Apparently conflict resolution." That gets a laugh. Even Elise laughs, a short bark that makes it sound as if we've all agreed this is charming. The private dining room at Lark Finch is Celeste's favorite kind of room. Expensive without being flashy, pale linen, small flower arrangements, no prices on the menu. She chose it. She chose the cake, too, a lemon sponge decorated with sugar magnolias that look more convincing than the flowers on the table. When I said Daniel and I would rather have a quiet dinner for 6, she turned it into 14 and called the additional guests people who have loved him forever. I know 11 of them. Apparently, 4 have already given Elise money. "How many tours have you sold?" I ask. Elise tilts her head. Her dark hair is cut in a precise chin-length bob that never seems to move, even when she does. "We can go over operations another time." "How many?" "Mara." Daniel touches my knee under the table. "Tonight is supposed to be about us." His hand is warm, familiar. 10 minutes ago, that touch would have calmed me. I move my leg away. The waiter arrives with a cake knife, takes one look at the table, and asks whether we need another minute. "Yes," I say. "No," Celeste says at the same time. "Please." She's been looking forward to cutting it. She means me, but she says it as if I'm not in the room. Not. The waiter places the knife in front of Daniel and retreats. Elise lifts her glass again. "I was trying to surprise you." "You used my name." "I used both our names, Mercer and Voss, mine and yours." "Elise Mercer and Mara Voss," Celeste says, delighted by the symmetry. It sounds established. Daniel rubs his thumb along the side of his glass. It's what he does when a conversation is becoming inconvenient, a subtle request for everyone else to grow reasonable before he has to become involved. I look at him. Did you know? His eyes meet mine, then shift briefly toward his sister. There it is. Not guilt. Calculation. I knew she was putting together a website. Did you know she was taking bookings? I knew she was testing interest. Credit card deposits are interest now? Elise sighs. I used a secure payment processor. That's not the point. You keep saying that, but I don't think you know what your point is. My point is that you sold access you don't have under a name that isn't yours. The woman who thanked me for Saturday lowers her hand from her wine glass. Her husband suddenly becomes fascinated by the sugar magnolias. Celeste's chair scrapes back half an inch. All right, enough. She doesn't raise her voice. Celeste never needs to. She's spent most of her life making displeasure sound like good breeding. Elise has had a difficult year, she says. She found something she's genuinely excited about, something that could benefit all of you. If the details need adjusting, adjust them privately. Don't humiliate her over cake. Elise's mouth presses into a brave little line. The expression is so practiced I can almost see Celeste teaching it to her. Daniel leans toward me. Can we get through dinner? I stare at him. Do you have the bellwether key? His thumb stops moving. What? The brass key from my tote. I don't know what key you mean. Elise does. Every face turns toward her. She gives a bewildered laugh and spreads her hands. I don't go through your purse. It isn't a purse, it's my work bag. That distinction seems really important right now. Elise. Daniel says her name in warning, but it comes a second too late. I hear the intimacy in it, not romantic, not secretive, just coordinated. They have already discussed what to say if I ask. I push back my chair. Daniel catches my wrist under the edge of the table. Not hard. He would never hold hard enough to leave a mark. He believes gentleness changes what control is. Please, he says, sit down. Let go. He does immediately, wounded that I made him. I pick up my coat from the chair behind me. Celeste looks at the ring on my left hand. Daniel proposed 6 weeks ago on the public steps of Bellwether, because that was the first place I took him when we started dating. He had complained about the heat, listened to every word of my tour, and later repeated a story I'd told about the glasshouse architect. I'd thought he remembered because the place mattered to me. Now I wonder if he remembered because remembering useful details is what accountants do. You're leaving your own engagement dinner? Celeste asks. I'm going to check my work bag. Daniel stands. I'll come with you. No. Mara, don't turn this into something bigger. I pull on my coat. You already know how big it is. Outside, the evening air has the damp river chill that works through fabric. My phone starts buzzing before I reach the corner. Daniel, then Daniel again, then Celeste. Elise sends a text. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. A second bubble appears. Those people were invited to your engagement. Then, so technically they're your network too. I don't answer. Daniel and I rent the second floor of a narrow brick house on Gaston Street. He wanted a new building with covered parking. I wanted windows that opened and floors that creaked. We compromised by choosing what I wanted and letting him complain about it affectionately. On the drive home, I hear all his old complaints differently. The closet is too small. The plumbing has moods. My framed tour maps take up an entire wall. My work schedule ruins weekends. My clients expect special treatment. Bellwether gets the polished version of me while he gets whatever is left. He has said every one of those things with a smile. The apartment is dark when I arrive. I don't turn on the overhead lights. I go straight to the kitchen, where my canvas work tote hangs from the back of Daniel's chair. The zipper on the leather pouch is open. Inside are my flashlight, 2 pairs of cotton gloves, a packet of ginger candies, and the little red notebook where I record maintenance details before entering them in Bellwether's system. The key is gone. I empty the whole tote onto the table anyway. Pens roll beneath the fruit bowl. A folded brochure slips to the floor. I check every pocket, then check them again, my fingers moving faster the second time. When the front lock turns 20 minutes later, I'm sitting at the table with the contents of my bag arranged in rows. Daniel comes in carrying my boxed slice of engagement cake. He sees the table and closes the door quietly behind him. "You left this," he says, holding up the box. "Where's the key?" He sets the cake on the counter. I was going to explain. That sentence has never improved anything. He takes off his coat and drapes it over the sofa instead of hanging it. Elise needed photos for the website. At Bellwether? Just outside. Then why did she need the key? She wanted the glass house doors open in the background. I look at him. He loosens his tie. No one went inside. Did you go with her? His hesitation is tiny. Yes. When? Sunday morning. I had spent Sunday preparing inventory notes in Bellwether's archive room. Daniel texted me around 11 asking whether I wanted coffee. When I said yes, he brought it to the staff entrance and kissed me in front of Nina. He had already been on the property with Elise. You knew I was working. That's why we kept out of your way. A laugh comes out of me, but there's nothing funny in it. You used the key before you brought me coffee? We took pictures for 20 minutes. That's it. Where is it now? Elise has it. The room seems to contract around the table. You gave her the key? She was supposed to return it tonight. Was that before or after she sold a candlelight tour? She didn't tell me she'd published the date, but you knew she was selling tours. I knew she wanted to. Under my name. She told me she'd talk to you. I hold his gaze. Did you believe her? He looks toward the window. That hurts more than if he had lied well. Daniel is good at discovering what he can live with. He can live with his mother criticizing his apartment because challenging her would make holidays unpleasant. He can live with Elise borrowing money because asking when she'll repay it produces tears. He can live with me absorbing small inconveniences because I rarely make them visible. He comes around the table and crouches beside my chair. Mara, listen to me. This got out of hand. I should have checked with you. You took a restricted key from my work bag. I borrowed it. You couldn't borrow it. It wasn't mine to lend. I understand that now. You understood it Sunday. That's why you went when I was busy. His face changes. Not much, but enough. The tenderness remains in place while something behind it closes. Elise has been struggling, he says. So you gave her my job? No one is taking your job. She's selling it. She's selling an experience. You give tours all the time. For Bellwether, with contracts, insurance, attendance limits, and permission from the owners. We can cancel Saturday. We? He stands. I almost wish he would shout. Instead, he begins putting the items back into my tote, one by one, as if restoring order is the same as taking responsibility. You're upset, he says. I'm scared. That stops him. I hate how relieved I am when his expression softens. He sits across from me. You're not going to lose anything. I'll call Elise tonight. I'll get the key. I'll make her take down the Bellwether listing. And the rest? What rest? All the other tours. He rubs both hands over his face. Can we deal with one thing at a time? There are moments in a relationship when the answer arrives before the question has fully formed. It doesn't arrive dramatically. It settles into the room among ginger candies and loose pens, and a cake neither person wants. I ask, how long have you known? Daniel lowers his hands. Before he can answer, my phone rings on the table. Nina Patel, Bellwether's operations director. It's almost 10. Nina goes to bed at 9:30 and considers after-hours phone calls evidence of either fire or death. Daniel looks at her name on the screen. I answer. Nina doesn't say hello. Mara, I need you to tell me why security footage shows 12 people entering the glass house under your access authorization last Thursday night. I don't know, I say. Nina exhales through her nose. That is not a useful answer. It's the only one I have. I didn't authorize anyone Thursday night. Across the table, Daniel closes his eyes. I stand so fast the chair legs strike the floor. Were you there? Nina hears me. "Who are you talking to?" "Daniel." There's silence on both sides of the call. He looks at the scattered contents of my work bag, then at me. "I can explain Thursday." Start. It was supposed to be a preview. Nina says, "Put me on speaker." I do. Daniel pulls out the chair I abandoned, but doesn't sit. Elise had some people interested. She thought if they saw the glass house, they'd book a full package later. "How did 12 people enter?" Nina asks. "The side door." I know which door. "Who opened it?" I did. The flatness of his answer makes my stomach turn. He isn't confessing. He's correcting an administrative detail. Nina's voice goes quiet. "With Mara's key?" "Yes." "You told me you only went Sunday," I say. "That was the only time we went to take pictures." "You said no one went inside." "No one went inside Sunday." The precision of it almost impresses me. Nina asks, "Did the Thursday group pay?" Daniel glances at the phone. "You'd have to ask Elise." "That means yes," I say. "Mara, I don't have access to her accounts." "But you carried the key." He grips the chair back. "I went because I didn't want her there alone. I thought that was safer." Nina makes a sound that could be a laugh if she were a different person. "Safer for whom?" I'm trying to be honest. "No," I say. "You're trying to make the part I discovered sound like the whole thing." His eyes flash. Nina tells me to come to Bellwether at 8 and bring my key ring, access card, work laptop, and any messages related to the tour. She tells Daniel not to contact anyone who attended until Bellwether's insurer reviews the footage. Daniel nods at the phone as though she can see him. When the call ends, he says, "I didn't know it was a paid tour." "You believe 12 strangers met your sister at a locked glass house on Thursday night for friendship?" She said they were potential clients. They were clients. I see that now. I open my laptop. Daniel watches me search my own name. The first result below my Bellwether profile is an advertisement. Mara Voss's Secret Savannah. My name is in gold script above a photograph of the glass house doors standing open. Through the panes, I can see the long iron tables, the herringbone brick floor, and the potted citrus trees. Bellwether's horticulturist moves indoors when the nights turn cold. The site describes me as an architectural historian. I'm not. I have a graduate degree in museum studies and 12 years of experience interpreting historic sites. I once corrected a lifestyle reporter who called me an architectural historian because the distinction matters. Elise has also made me a sixth-generation Savannah insider, which would surprise my parents in Ohio. Daniel leans over my shoulder. "That needs to come down." "You think?" "I told you I didn't see the finished site. There are 6 available experiences: Bellwether by candlelight, hidden gardens of the historic district, private parlors, and Prosecco, an unannounced visit to a furniture conservator's workshop, a riverfront architecture walk assembled from whole paragraphs of my published tour notes. Beside each listing is a small circular photograph of me standing in the Bellwether courtyard. It was taken at last year's Preservation Awards. Daniel had cropped himself out. I clicked the About page. Mercer Voss was born from the shared vision of local experience. Curator Mara Voss and creative entrepreneur Elise Mercer. "Creative entrepreneur," I say. Daniel's mouth twitches before he can stop it. I turn toward him. "I'm not laughing at you." "Then who?" The phrase, "It's just very Elise." For half a second, I remember why I love him. Daniel can reduce his sister to 3 words and a look. He knows exactly how exhausting she is. We have hidden together in Celeste's pantry during holiday dinners, eating expensive crackers, while Elise explained a wellness franchise to trapped guests in the living room. That history makes what he did worse. I scroll to the booking calendar. Thursday's Glass House preview is marked "Sold Out." 2 garden walks are marked "Completed." Saturday's candlelight tour has a wait list. Daniel reaches for the laptop. I slap his hand away. "I was going to see if there's an admin login." "Do you have one?" "No." "Does she?" "I assume so." "You're listed as the contact for billing support." He looks more closely. At the bottom of the page, under questions about cancellations, is an email address containing his name. It forwards to my personal account, he says. How convenient. I set up an inbox when she was testing names. That was months ago. How many months? 3, maybe. We became engaged 6 weeks ago. I start taking screenshots. Every page, every price, every claim. Daniel hovers behind me until I ask him to move. Then he paces between the table and the dark window, opening and closing his hands. I'll call her, he says. Nina told you not to. She has the key. Then text her. Tell her to put it in an envelope and leave it outside. She won't do that. Why? Because you scared her. I turn in my chair. I scared the woman using my identity to sell trespassing? That's not what I meant. It came out smoothly. His phone buzzes. Elise's name appears on the screen. He picks it up but doesn't answer. She knows we left, he says. We? You left. I followed. 40 minutes later. My mother was upset. Your mother wasn't holding the key. He walks into the bedroom to answer. I hear his voice through the wall, low and patient. He tells Elise to calm down. He tells her there has been a misunderstanding. He tells her the website has to be temporarily unpublished. He never says she had no right. I send the screenshots to my personal email, then open the leather notebook from my tote. On a blank page, I write Thursday's date. 12 guests. Daniel opened glass house with brass key. Paid event. No permission. The handwriting looks too neat, like someone else's account of my life. Daniel returns 15 minutes later. She'll take the bellwether page down. The whole site comes down. She has legitimate bookings that don't involve bellwether. They all involve my name. She says she'll change the branding tomorrow. And the key? She gave it back to me at dinner. I stare at him. He pats his coat pockets, then looks toward the sofa. It must be in the car. Of course it is. He goes downstairs. I stand at the front window and watch him cross the sidewalk. The interior light of his car comes on. He leans through the driver's door, checks the console, then reaches across to the glove compartment. He stays bent over longer than it should take to pick up one key. When he comes back, his hand is empty. It isn't there. I watched you look in the glove compartment. Yes. What did you find? Registration, receipts, half a pack of gum. Elise didn't give it to you. I thought she did. You told me she did. I was wrong. The phrase lands with no force because he uses it for facts, never choices. I close the laptop. Sleep somewhere else tonight. His face goes still. You're throwing me out? I'm asking for space. This is my home, too. It is. Both our names are on the lease. Both our toothbrushes are in the bathroom. His grandfather's watch is in the top dresser drawer beside my winter scarves. The kitchen is full of coffee he likes and tea I forget to drink. He looks around as if taking inventory. I'll sleep on the couch. I don't argue. I take my work tote into the bedroom and lock the door, then lie awake listening to him move through the apartment. A cabinet opens. Water runs. Near midnight, the front door opens and closes. His car starts below the window. At Bellwether, Nina is waiting in the administrative office with a yellow legal pad and coffee in a paper cup. She has twisted her hair into a knot so severe it pulls at her temples. She points to the chair across from her. Tell me everything you learned after we spoke. I give her the notebook page, printed screenshots, and Daniel's texts from overnight. I'm fixing it. Elise is changing the name. Please don't make statements until we know what happened. The last one arrived at 2:14 a.m. Nina reads each message twice. You slept? She asks. No. Good. I'd resent you if you looked this bad after 8 hours. It's such a Nina thing to say that my throat tightens. She notices and looks down at the legal pad. Security found the group at 9:17. The evening guard saw a printed confirmation with your name, and your fiancé told him you were meeting them inside. My hands go cold. Daniel told security I was coming. He said you were delayed with a donor. That's specific. Yes. What happened when I didn't show? They left at 10:02. Your fiancé said you had been pulled into another event. I remember Thursday night. I had been at home for most of it, eating soup on the sofa and reviewing wedding venue estimates. Daniel texted that his mother needed help moving a cabinet. He came home at 10:40 carrying 2 slices of pie Celeste had supposedly given him. What did they do inside? I asked. Drank wine. Took pictures. Elise gave a talk. About what? Based on the footage, doors. Despite everything, I almost smile. She knows nothing about doors. I gathered that when she called a Georgian fanlight art deco. Nina slides a form across the desk. Temporary reassignment of access. I have to remove you from private tour duty while the insurer investigates. The smile disappears. You know I wasn't there. I know what you've told me. Your key was there. Your name was on the confirmation. The guard says Daniel represented himself as acting for you. Do you believe him? This isn't a belief form. She pushes the paper closer. The brass keys hang from my belt on a retractable clip. Most people hear them before they see me coming through Bellwether's halls. The sound has become part of my workday. A soft metallic knock against my hip, familiar as my own footsteps. I unclip the ring and set it on Nina's desk. She closes her hand over it. Your general access card, too. What am I supposed to do? Collections documentation. Public tours if we need coverage. No restricted rooms without another staff member. How long? I don't know. I sign the form. The signature I write every day looks suddenly vulnerable. On my way out, Nina says, Mara. I stop. Get the glass house key back before someone else uses it. Daniel's car is parked behind our building when I return. He isn't home, but the spare car key is still in the blue bowl by the door. For 6 years, we have used each other's cars without asking. Grocery runs, airport pickups, mornings when one battery died. Family shares everything. The thought is bitter enough to make the decision easy. I take the spare and go downstairs. The glove compartment is unlocked. Inside are the registration, receipts, half a pack of gum, and the brass key. It rests beneath a folded printout from Mercer Voss Private Experiences. Across the top, in Daniel's handwriting, are 3 words. Mara approved access. I photograph the page exactly where it lies. Then I remove the key, leave the printout, and lock the car. Upstairs, I put the brass key in an envelope for Nina and begin contacting the people whose names I can identify from the booking site. I keep my message neutral. I am reconciling an administrative issue involving tours advertised under my name. Please confirm the date, location, payment recipient, and person who conducted your experience. The first reply arrives 12 minutes later. A woman named Janine sends a receipt for $720, a picture of Elise pouring champagne in the glass house, and a photograph of Daniel holding the door open with my key. Celeste stands beside him, smiling beneath the citrus trees. Janine's message ends with a question. If you weren't our guide, who exactly did we pay? I type 3 different answers before sending the shortest one. I don't know yet. Would you forward the original confirmation? Janine sends it immediately. The confirmation is clean and professional. Elise has copied Bellwether's muted green color scheme, my standard arrival instructions, and the language I use about uneven brick paths. At the bottom, beneath a digital version of my signature, is a phone number I don't recognize. I call it. Elise answers. Mercer and Voss, this is Mara. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Then she says, What do you want? You answered as me. It's the business line you called the business. My name is Mara. And I assumed a prospective customer wanted to speak to you. It's called continuity. Who processed Janine's payment? I did the work, so I was paid. You used my signature. It's a font. You used my name, which Daniel said was fine. I looked through the window at his parked car. Did he also say you could impersonate me on the phone? You're making that word do a lot of work. Send me a complete list of bookings. No, Elise, my customers trusted me with their information. They thought they were trusting me. Her breath catches, but she recovers quickly. You know what? This is exactly why Daniel didn't want to involve you too early. You grab the most threatening interpretation of everything. He didn't involve me at all. He involved you by building something around what you're good at. You mean he gave you my key? He supervised. He lied to me about it. Because look at what happens when you don't control every detail. I hang up. Daniel texts 5 minutes later. Why did you call her directly? The speed of it tells me more than the question. Elise calls him, and he calls the situation. That is how their family works. Nothing unpleasant is allowed to remain with the person who caused it. I forward Janine's photographs to Nina and carry the brass key back to Bellwether. The glass house is visible from the administrative wing, its white-painted iron ribs bright against the gray morning. Workers are replacing soil in the long citrus beds. Someone has propped one door open with a rubber wedge. Nina meets me in the service corridor. I hand her the envelope. She checks the key against the stamped number in the access ledger. Where was it? Daniel's glove compartment. You searched his car? We share the car. Her eyebrows rise. Shared, I correct. Past tense may be doing some work there. She turns the envelope over. Anything else? I show her the photograph of the printed page beneath the key. Mara approved access. Nina studies it without commenting. I left the paper where it was, I say. I didn't want him to know I'd seen it. That instinct arrived a little late. The words sting because they're true. She looks toward the open office door, then lowers her voice. The insurer wants a written statement by noon. Facts only. No conclusions about motive, no language like identity theft unless someone with a title uses it first. What do I call it? Unauthorized use of your name. That sounds polite. Polite holds up better. My phone rings while she is speaking. It's Clara Whitcomb, who owns Harrogate House 3 blocks east of Bellwether. I have led private preservation groups through her drawing room twice, both times after 6 weeks of planning and a written agreement about shoes. Clara never calls before lunch. Mara, she says, did you send a group into my courtyard on Tuesday? No, I was afraid of that. She emails me a still from her security camera. Elise stands at Harrogate's side gate in a cream blazer, gesturing toward 6 guests. The gate is open behind her. I didn't give her a key, I say. She told my housekeeper you were inside with me and had asked her to let the group wait in the courtyard. Was anything damaged? Not that I can see. They left when I came downstairs. My relief lasts until Clara says, one of them used my powder room. I'm sorry. So am I. I like you. The use of the present tense is deliberate. Clara has known me long enough to understand what she is giving me. I'm sending the recording to Bellwether, she says, and to my insurer. I thought you should hear that from me. When the call ends, Nina is watching my face. Harrogate, I say. Of course it's Harrogate. She has video of Elise. Nina holds out her hand for my phone. Forward it. Clara's message becomes the first proof that doesn't run through Daniel. Nina prints it for the file. She still won't give back my access card, but before I leave, she pours half her coffee into a clean mug and pushes it toward me. It is not forgiveness. It is something better than being alone. Daniel is waiting in the apartment when I get home. The printout from his glove compartment lies in the middle of the kitchen table. You went into my car. I returned the key you said wasn't there. You could have asked me. I did. He looks tired. His dress shirt is wrinkled and there's a smear of printer ink along the side of his hand. For years, fatigue has made me gentler with him. I feel the old response rise and stop somewhere below my ribs. Why did you write that I approved access? Elise needed something for the guard. You created an authorization. I wrote a note. With my name. It doesn't say it came from you. It says I approved. You had approved private events before. For Bellwether. You're doing that thing again where you turn context into a courtroom. My key was taken from my bag, Daniel. And it's back. My access is suspended. His anger flickers into alarm. They suspended you. Private tours. Restricted rooms. I had to surrender my ring and card. You should have called me. Why? I could have explained. You already did. You told the guard I was delayed with a donor. He looks down. Were you ever going to tell me about Thursday? Yes. When? When Elise had proof the idea could work. So after she made enough money that I'd look cruel for stopping it. That isn't what I said. It's what you built. He pulls out a chair and sits. Do you know what it's like trying to support someone who thinks every favor needs a form? I laugh once. Is that me or Bellwether? Both, sometimes. There it is, finally. Not a misunderstanding, a grievance. He says my work has become the third person in our relationship. Every dinner can be interrupted by a preservation emergency. Every weekend is organized around donor tours and maintenance windows. I gave him a drawer when he first stayed over, then labeled it without asking. I correct the way he handles old books. I keep separate grocery lists because his handwriting is hard to read. Some of it is ridiculous. Some of it is true. You feel like a guest in my life, I say. Yes. So you gave your sister a key. I wanted one thing to happen without you explaining why it couldn't. The honesty of it is almost clean. I sit across from him. You wanted to prove my boundaries were unnecessary. I wanted to prove they weren't the only way. And when the guard asked, I panicked. You used me. I protected you. From what? From being the person who shut it down before it had a chance. He believes that. I can see it in the set of his mouth. In Daniel's version, he stepped between me and my own worst instincts. He spent my credibility because he considered himself better qualified to manage it. The doorbell rings. He doesn't look surprised. Celeste and Elise come upstairs carrying 2 canvas bags and a slim black folder. Celeste kisses Daniel's cheek. Elise walks past me without taking off her sunglasses. I brought the records, Celeste says. We're going to solve this like adults. She unloads the bags onto the table, booking receipts, printed emails, a stack of envelopes containing refunds that have not been mailed. Elise removes her sunglasses. Her eyes are swollen. I shut down the website, she says. You changed the name, I say. It's still live. Her jaw tightens. I found it while waiting for Clara's video to download. Mercer House Experiences now advertises curated access with local professionals. My photograph is gone, but 3 customer reviews still thank Mara. Celeste opens the black folder. The important thing is limiting harm. Elise will refund the Bellwether bookings. You will confirm that there was confusion over the scope of your permission. I didn't give permission. Daniel did. He couldn't. Elise slides a printed email across the table. It is from Daniel to her, dated 4 days before the first completed tour. Mara's fine with it. Use the descriptions she already has. I'll handle access until she sees the upside. For a second, the text blurs. Daniel says my name softly. I read it again. He comes to stand beside me. I meant the concept. You meant access. I phrased it badly. You promised to manage me. That's not fair. Elise points at the email. How was I supposed to know he was lying? You knew because I told you no. You said you couldn't formally partner with me while Bellwether was involved. Daniel said this was a temporary workaround. I never used the word partner. You offered introductions. I offered advice. You sent me your walking tour notes. I sent you links to public articles. Celeste taps the folder. This argument is exactly why we need a statement. The insurer will see conflicting family communication and make everyone miserable. Mara says there was no permission. Elise has written permission from Mara's future husband. Daniel acknowledges he overstated. We refund the money and move forward. She places a 1-page statement in front of me. The first sentence calls Mercer Voss an informal family collaboration. I slide it back. Celeste doesn't pick it up. Your wedding is in 5 months. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this. You are joining a family. Joining requires grace. Does belonging to it require a password, or was my key enough? Mara, Daniel says. I pull off my engagement ring. I only mean to free my hand because my fingers have begun to swell. The ring catches at my knuckle before coming loose. I set it beside the unsigned statement. Everyone becomes very still. Daniel picks it up. "Give that back." "You just took it off." I set it down. He closes it in his fist. "I'm keeping it safe until we've both calmed down." The sentence is gentle. That makes it uglier. It belongs to me. I paid for it. Celeste looks away. Elise does not. I hold out my hand. Daniel slips the ring into his pocket. "You're not thinking clearly." I leave before I discover what I might say next. At Bellwether, Nina lets me into the administrative wing with her card. I work at the empty conference table, documenting dates while a public tour moves through the hall beyond the closed doors. My own voice used to carry through those rooms. Now I hear another guide telling my favorite story about the staircase. Near 5, Nina comes in, holding a plastic evidence sleeve. This was behind the emergency ledger in the glass house. Inside is a laminated Bellwether credential. My name is printed beneath Elise's photograph. The card has been trimmed unevenly. A faint magenta stripe crosses the bottom edge. Our printer at home has left that same stripe on every color page for almost a year. Daniel keeps promising to clean the print head. Nina sits beside me. "She showed this to the guard Thursday," she says. "He remembered the cream blazer, not her face. He thought she was a contractor working under your authorization." I touch the edge of the evidence sleeve. Daniel printed it. "Can you prove that?" "Not yet." My phone lights up with an email from Bellwether's insurer. Elise has submitted Daniel's message as evidence that she believed the tours were approved. Until the conflicting statements are resolved, my reassignment will remain in effect. The proof helps her too. That evening, I remove Daniel as an authorized user from the household vendor account I opened for wedding expenses. I separate our auto insurance. I cancel the reception deposit paid from my savings and accept the loss of $800. Then I send formal notice to Elise, Celeste, and Daniel that they have no authority to use my name, work, contacts, credentials, or professional relationships. Daniel texts when the notices arrive. "Mom says you're canceling the wedding over a tour." I answer once. "I'm canceling because you believed marrying me gave you permission in advance." He doesn't respond. The phone rings before I can set it down. The number is local but unfamiliar. "Ms. Voss," a woman says when I answer. "This is Lena Ortiz with Savannah Tourism Management. We need to speak about several private tours being sold under your name." I press the phone harder to my ear. "Who gave you my number?" "A customer who received a cancellation notice from Mercer House Experiences," Lena says. She was concerned because the notice came from someone calling herself Mara, but the photograph and voice didn't match the person she believed she had booked. Janine. "What does tourism management need from me?" "To begin with, I need to determine whether you are connected to the business." "I'm not." "You're named on receipts, confirmations, advertisements, and an access authorization provided to Bellwether House." "That authorization wasn't mine." Lena pauses. I hear a keyboard. "Your fiancé says it was." The word fiancé feels like a fact that expired while no one was looking. "He wrote that I approved. I didn't." "Did he have authority to approve commercial tours on your behalf?" "No." "Did you give him a key?" "No." "Did you know he had taken one?" "No." "Then I'd like to meet tomorrow morning." Her questions are methodical without being cold. She tells me to bring identification, copies of any communications, and documentation of my relationship with Bellwether. She advises me not to delete anything and not to negotiate refunds myself. "Ms. Voss," she says before hanging up, "are there tours scheduled in the next 72 hours? There's a candlelight tour Saturday. Is there any chance they can enter the property?" I recovered the key. That wasn't my question. I look toward the blue bowl by the door where the apartment key Daniel uses is absent. "He knows where Bellwether keeps things," I say. "But no, not if their procedures are followed. I'll call Bellwether tonight." After we hang up, I tell Nina to expect her call. Then I sit at the kitchen table with the unsigned family collaboration statement in front of me. Celeste left it behind deliberately. She believes proximity creates inevitability. A document on my table becomes a document I might sign. A box in my apartment becomes something I'll store. A favor completed once becomes a tradition. I tear the statement in half, then stop. Facts only. I tape it back together and put it in the file. Daniel comes home after midnight. He switches on the kitchen light and finds me surrounded by receipts, screenshots, and printed messages. "You canceled the venue," he says. "Yes," without talking to me. "The deposit came from my savings." "That isn't what I asked." "You took my ring." He reaches into his coat pocket, touches something, then lets his hand fall. "My mother says tourism contacted Elise. They contacted me too." Fear moves across his face before he hides it. "What did you say?" "The truth." Mara, the city doesn't understand the family context. Neither does Bellwether's insurer. He takes off his coat and hangs it carefully this time. Elise has already agreed to refund everyone. She hasn't given tourism a complete booking list. How do you know? They asked whether I knew about Saturday. He pulls out the chair across from me. "We can fix this if everybody uses the same language." The phrase sounds borrowed from Celeste. I slide the photograph of the laminated credential toward him. "Did you make this?" He studies it too long. "Where did you get it?" "Did you make it?" Elise might have. "The magenta stripe came from our printer." That doesn't prove who printed it. He picks up the photograph, holding only the corners as if that matters now. "Daniel. I helped format something." With my name and her face. She needed a credential for the preview. She needed my identity. She needed the guard not to panic when you weren't there. I was never going to be there. I know. The room goes quiet. He closes his eyes. "I know that now." "No. You knew it when you printed the card." "I thought you'd come around." "Afterward." "Yes, afterward." His voice rises for the first time. "Because there is no before with you. Before is policies and emails and 6 weeks of discussion until the opportunity is gone." "You forged a work credential because I'm thorough?" "I didn't forge anything. Bellwether doesn't issue that kind of card. It was informational. It had their name, my name, and Elise's photograph. For one night. You told the guard I was coming. I needed him to stop asking questions." He hears himself. I can tell by the way his shoulders drop. I ask, "Were you ever going to let me say no?" He looks at the taped statement, the canceled venue notice, the empty space on my hand. "I thought once you saw it work, you wouldn't." That isn't an answer. It's the only one I have. My own words from Nina's call return to me stripped of innocence. I stand. "I need you to stay somewhere else. This is my apartment, too. Then I'll go." He watches me take my overnight bag from the hall closet. I pack work clothes, toiletries, my laptop, and the little red notebook. The ordinary speed of it frightens him more than shouting would. "I'll go to Mom's," he says. "You don't have to leave." "Return the ring." His hand goes to his pocket again. Right now, it feels like the only part of this I can keep safe. From me? From both of us making a permanent decision in the middle of a crisis. The decision is already permanent. We're discussing jewelry. He puts the ring on the table. I don't pick it up. The Savannah Tourism Management Office occupies the second floor of a municipal building with flickering lights and a lobby display advertising ghost tours. Lena Ortiz wears navy slacks, red glasses, and an expression that suggests she has already heard every creative definition of permission. She checks my identification, then asks me to begin with the first time Elise proposed the business. For an hour, I give her emails, photographs, booking confirmations, Clara's security image, Daniel's messages, and the picture of the false credential. I explain the brass key, the Thursday group, and the website descriptions copied from my work. Lena arranges everything by date. Elise says you offered to help her develop tours. I did. She says you sent her research, links to published articles. She says you introduced her to local professionals. I gave her 3 public business contacts. I never authorized her to represent me. And Mr. Mercer? He knew I had refused. Why would he tell her otherwise? That is the first question I cannot answer with a document. He thought my refusal was an obstacle he could manage. Lena removes her glasses. Did he benefit financially? I don't know. His email was attached to billing support, but I haven't seen the account. He told us he was providing informal accounting assistance. Then he knows more than I do. She writes something down. Tourism management cannot decide who owns my name or resolve what happened inside my relationship. Lena is careful about that. What her office can do is issue a stop work notice against the commercial tour operation, require Elise to disclose upcoming bookings, review whether her advertising and access claims violate city tour rules, and notify properties named in her materials. Bellwether and Harrogate will handle unauthorized entry through their insurers. Her listings will be suspended while we review the bookings, Lena says. The payment processor has also requested documentation from her. What happens to Daniel? That depends on what the records show and what the affected properties choose to do. No handcuffs, no dramatic declaration that the truth has won. Just folders moving to the right desks. It feels more solid than drama. At Bellwether, Nina has changed the exterior lock cylinder on the glass house. The old brass key lies in an evidence envelope in her desk drawer, obsolete but still heavy. The insurer accepts that you weren't present, she tells me. They don't accept that our access controls were adequate. Neither do I. Your reassignment stays in place through the review. I nod. She studies me. You're taking that better than yesterday. Yesterday I thought the rules were punishing me. And today? They're doing what rules do when people discover they've been pretending trust is a system. Nina almost smiles. I'm stealing that for the board. The next week is quieter than it should be. Daniel moves clothes to Celeste's house but leaves his books, his grandfather's watch, and 4 pairs of shoes. He sends practical texts about utilities and one long message about how frightened he is by the speed of everything. He says he loves me. He says he made decisions from loyalty, not malice. He says Elise has always been the one everyone expects to fail, while I am the one everyone expects to recover. That sentence keeps me awake. It is the closest he comes to understanding what he did. He chose me as the cost because he believed I could survive being spent. Celeste invites me to dinner the following Thursday. She calls it a chance to conclude the engagement dinner with dignity. I decline until Lena emails that Elise still disputes the extent of Daniel's involvement and has provided only partial financial records. I tell Celeste I'll come if Daniel and Elise are both there. The dinner is at Celeste's house, not Lark Finch. She has set the dining room for 4 with her wedding china. In the center of the table sits the top tier of our engagement cake, which she apparently asked the restaurant to freeze. The sugar magnolias have begun to sweat. Elise has a stack of refund checks beside her plate. Daniel looks thinner. When I enter, his eyes go first to my bare hand. Celeste serves roast chicken as if starch and silverware can return us to recognizable roles. Elise has made every customer whole, she says. 6 checks are still here. They'll be mailed tomorrow. Tourism asked for electronic records. Elise cuts into a potato. Tourism is treating me like I ran buses through the cemetery. You sold places you couldn't enter. I relied on Daniel's permission. Daniel sets down his fork. You knew I didn't own Bellwether. You said Mara was fine with it. I said I'd handle Mara. You printed the credential. You asked me to. Celeste closes her eyes. This is not productive. It is the most productive conversation we have had. Elise turns to me. I shouldn't have used your photograph after you said no. Fine, I admit that. But Daniel gave me the descriptions, the key, the billing setup, and the card. He came to the first tour. He told the guard you were coming. Why am I the only one receiving notices? Daniel's face reddens. Because it was your business. You loved it when people thought you had access. I was trying to support you. You were trying to impress Mom. Celeste places both palms on the table. Enough. Neither of them stops. Daniel says Elise promised no one would know until there was revenue. Elise says Daniel chose Bellwether because his firm's guests would be impressed. Daniel says Celeste insisted the engagement dinner was the ideal launch because my contacts would already be present. The whole structure comes apart in ordinary sentences. Celeste finally looks at me. I wanted Elise to have something of her own. So you gave her something of mine. I believed there was room for both of you. There was. She didn't want the room. She wanted the door I'd already opened. My phone rings. Lena. Every person at the table sees the name. I answer. Lena tells me tourism management has served Elise with a formal stop work notice. All advertised tours must cease. Her complete booking records and remaining customer funds are due by noon the next day. The Bellwether and Harrogate files have been referred to the properties and their insurers, and the false credential has been added to the record. There's one more issue, Lena says. Mr. Mercer represented in his interview that you verbally approved a limited trial tour before withdrawing permission. Is that accurate? I look at Daniel. He hears enough through the phone to understand. Mara, he says, I told them I misunderstood you. You told them I approved. I said I believed you did. Did you? Celeste whispers, think carefully. Daniel looks at his mother, then Elise, then me. You said you'd help, he says. You knew we were discussing tours. There it is again. The smaller truth arranged to shelter the larger lie. He leans toward me. Just tell her there was confusion. Please. I can fix the rest. I ask him, very calmly, do you still believe family shares everything? His mouth opens. The regret on his face is real. So is the hope that I will save him from it. Mara, he says, that's not fair. He chooses another excuse. I lift the phone. I never approved any trial tour. Daniel knew that. He took the key from my work bag, told the guard I was coming, and printed a credential with my name and Elise's photograph. Lena asks whether I am willing to sign a supplemental statement. Yes. Daniel pushes back from the table. You're destroying my life over one night. No, I'm declining to lie about it. I end the call. Celeste says my name as if there is still a version of it she can command. I take the apartment key from my pocket and place it in front of Daniel. We will settle the lease through the landlord. The engagement ring is still on our kitchen table, exactly where he left it. I tell him he can collect it when he gets his books. Then I leave them with the thawing cake and the checks that should already have been mailed. Bellwether's insurer clears me for private access after reviewing the footage, the credential, tourism's findings, and Nina's logs. Elise agrees to a repayment schedule for disputed charges and signs written acknowledgments that she cannot use my name or claim access through me. Daniel's firm removes him from 2 hospitality accounts while it reviews his undisclosed work for Elise. Celeste resigns from a preservation fundraising committee before anyone can ask why Harrogate no longer accepts her invitations. The consequences are slow, administrative, and expensive. So is separating a life. Daniel collects his last boxes on a rainy afternoon. He returns the blue bowl key and stands in the kitchen holding his grandfather's watch. I thought you were the strong one, he says. I was. I thought you could handle it. I did. He looks at the wall of framed tour maps. Is there any version where I understood sooner? Probably. Would we still be getting married? I think about the man who brought me coffee after taking my key, and how easily tenderness and betrayal occupied the same morning. I don't know, I say. But you would have had to let my no change what you wanted. He nods once and leaves. By spring, Bellwether creates a formal access coordinator role. Nina insists I apply, then pretends surprise when the board chooses me. My first project is replacing informal key habits with signed transfers, scheduled codes, and credentials that cannot be printed at someone's kitchen table. For my first evening tour back, the glass house smells of wet brick and orange blossoms. I lead 8 guests through the conservatory as sunset turns every pane copper. After they leave, I check the side rooms, record the attendance, and return to the exterior door. Nina had the old lock restored after the investigation, with a new internal cylinder built to modern specifications. The original brass key was recut and reassigned to me. It sits warm in my palm. I turn it once. The lock answers with a clean, certain click. Then I test the door, slip the key onto my ring, and walk home with the sound of it keeping time at my side.